Hey everyone! Today, we're diving into the world of trinkets in Dandy's world on Roblox. And trust me, these little items can seriously shake up your gameplay. Trinkets are not just simple accessories. They provide specific modifiers that can change the way you play the game. You can equip 2 trinkets at once, which means there's a ton of room for experimentation when it comes to finding the perfect combo that fits your style. Whether you're looking for more damage, speed, or some other perk, trinkets can completely transform your experience in the game. So, we've put together a tier list to help you figure out which trinkets are the best of the best. These are the ones that will give you the biggest advantage and help you dominate your opponents. From boosting your stats to giving you special abilities, the right trinkets can be a game changer. Stick around and let's break down the trinkets you need to keep an eye on in Dandy's world. This is gonna be fun. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking trinkets in Dandy's world. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. The trinkets in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Blushy Bat, Brick, Coin Purse, Diary, Fancy Purse, Fishing Rod, Spare Bulb, Speedometer, and Thinking Cap. Alright, buckle up because we're diving into the absolute worst trinkets in Dandy's world. These are the ones you'll want to avoid like the plague. Trust me. I mean, they're so bad, you might wonder if they were designed to make your life harder. Let's jump right in and break down the trinkets you should absolutely steer clear of. First up, we've got the Blushy Bat. Oh boy, this one is a real treat. It increases the attack cooldown of any Twisted that attacks you by a whopping 3 seconds. And let's be real here, who wants that? The last thing you need in a chaotic game like this is to slow down your enemies even more. No thanks. Avoid it unless you're trying to make things harder for yourself. Next on the list is the Brick. I mean, it's literally a brick. What were you expecting? This thing lowers both your walk and run speed by 10%. It's not just slow, it's sluggish. You might as well be carrying a weight around your neck, and that's not something you want in a fast-paced game like Dandy's world. Trust me, you're better off without it. Now let's talk about the Coin Purse. You'd think starting the round with 30 extra tapes might be a bonus, right? But nope, it's not. Why? Because tapes are super easy to find during gameplay, so this doesn't really give you any significant edge. It's like finding $1 in your coat pocket. Cool, but totally useless when you're in the middle of a fight. Up next, we have the Diary. I'll be honest, this one sounds a lot cooler than it is. It increases your stealth by 25%, but who's really sneaking around in Dandy's world? You're likely going to be caught in action more often than not, so this trinket is more of a meh than anything. It's like trying to hide behind a curtain that's clearly see-through. Doesn't really do much for you. Speaking of useless, let's get into the Fancy Purse. This one starts you with 100 extra tapes. Sounds nice, right? But again, it's one of those things that doesn't really give you a leg up. It's just not as valuable as it sounds. Sure, you get more tapes, but you're probably going to find them as you go. It's just a fancy way to waste a trinket slot. Okay, let's move on to the Fishing Rod. It sounds like it could be fun, right? You start with 3 random items from the common to rare tiers. The problem? Dandy Shop exclusive items are not included. That's right, the best stuff is left out. It's like going fishing with no bait. You're technically getting something, but it's just not what you're hoping for. Next is the Spare Bulb. This one increases the blackout light radius by 25%. Sure, it sounds useful, but it's really not. The light radius for light-producing tunes also gets boosted, but unless you're in a very specific situation where you need a bigger light radius, this trinket just ends up being a space filler. You'd be better off with something that directly impacts your gameplay. And finally, we've got the Speedometer. This one gives you 15 more stamina. It might sound useful in theory, but honestly, it's not a game changer. The extra stamina doesn't really do much when you're already trying to juggle other priorities, and with all the other trinkets in the game, it's not one you'll be running to grab. So, there you have it. These F-tier trinkets might look good on paper, but in practice, they're better left untouched. Trust me, skip these and save your trinket slots for something that's actually going to make a difference in your game. The trinkets in this tier are in order from top left to bottom right: Blue Bandana, Bone, Feather Duster, Machine Manual, Megaphone, Nightcap, Pull Toy, and Thermos. Alright, let's get into the nitty-gritty of the D-Tier Trinkets in Dandy's world. Now, I know some of you might be hoping for something that'll really turn the tide in your favor, but spoiler alert, these aren't exactly the game changers. They might help, but don't expect any miracles. Let's break it down. First up, we've got the Blue Bandana. It boosts your extraction speed by 7.5%, but with a little catch. you lose 5% on your skill check chances. So it's kind of like trying to run a race, but with your shoelaces a little tied together. Sure, you go faster, but you might trip up in the process. If you're looking for smoother, more reliable runs, this probably isn't your best bet. Next on the list is the bone. Okay, now this one sounds cool, right? 25% movement speed for 4 seconds when you collect an item. That might sound useful if you're in a rush, but there's a problem. Capsules and tapes don't count, which means you're limited to certain items. Not exactly the lifesaver you were hoping for, huh? Let's talk about the feather duster for a second. This little guy restores 20 stamina whenever you pick up an item, but once again, it's a bit niche. If you're not constantly collecting items that trigger it, this trinket might not offer much value. And just like with the bone, no love for capsules or tapes. It's like you're left hanging when it could have been useful. Then, there's the machine manual, which gives you a 5% extraction speed boost. Honestly, that's not much of a boost in the grand scheme of things. It's a very minor improvement, and it doesn't do enough to make a big difference when you really need it. Think of it as a tiny little nudge that's barely noticeable. If you're trying to zip through those extractions, you might want to keep looking. Moving on, we have the megaphone. This one grants you the air horn item every other floor if you've got the inventory slot open. The thing is, that's really situational. If you don't have space, this trinket's basically useless. And even if you do, it's not a super impactful item. I mean, unless you're trying to play a prank on your friends, but that's a different story. Last but not least, we've got the nightcap and pull toy. The nightcap boosts stamina regeneration by 40% while extracting from a machine, but it's tied to a specific action. If you're not constantly extracting from machines, this one won't really come through when you need it. The pull toy is a little better in theory. It boosts your movement speed by 25% for 10 seconds when a new floor arrives. But again, that's a very limited window of opportunity. You're essentially relying on a small window of time, and in a fast-paced game, that's not always a sure thing. So, there you have it. D-Tier Trinkets. They all offer something, but none of them are going to make you feel like you're playing on easy mode. They're nice little perks, but nothing you'd want to rely on for too long. If you can, try and find something that gives you a little more bang for your buck. Keep pushing, and those better trinkets will come your way. The trinkets in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: cardboard armor, crayon set, friendship bracelet, water cooler, and wrench. Alright, let's dive into the more interesting trinkets in Dandy's world. I say interesting because while they might not be the most glamorous, they can still save your skin when you need them the most. So grab your gear and let's talk about these C-tier trinkets that honestly aren't bad. They just have their moments. First up, we've got the cardboard armor. Now this one might not sound like much, but it's actually a lifesaver if you're up against those pesky long-range twisted attacks. It protects you from them, but here's the kicker. It can only be used once per floor, so you've got to be strategic with this one. Don't waste it early on if you know you're gonna face a tougher floor. It might just be the difference between life and respawn. Then there's the crayon set. Not the most powerful, but oh boy, does it give you some fun flexibility. Every time you start a new floor, you get a random item from the uncommon tier, which includes some of Dandy's shop exclusive goodies. It's a bit like a mini loot box, so you could end up with something super useful, or well, something not so much. Still, it's always fun to see what you get. The friendship bracelet is next, and this one's all about teamwork. For every toon still alive on the floor, you gain 5 extra stamina. It caps at 40 stamina, but hey, if you've got a solid team behind you, that's an extra 40 stamina to help you power through. It's definitely one to keep in mind if you're running with a big squad. Extra stamina? Yes, please. Now the water cooler is a bit of a mixed bag. It gives you a solid 50 extra stamina, which sounds amazing, right? But here's the catch. It also lowers your movement speed by 5%. So if you're okay with sacrificing a little speed for some extra endurance, this trinket can be your best friend. Just don't get caught running away from something fast with this on you. Lastly, there's the wrench. This is a pretty neat one if you're the type to focus on machines. The wrench gives you a big boost to the completion of your first machine extraction on each floor. It's one use per floor though, so you'll need to be smart about when you activate it. But if you're planning on working those machines, this can save you a lot of time and effort. Sometimes it's the little things that speed up your progress. So there you have it, the C-tier trinkets. They might not be the flashiest or the most game-changing, but when you find yourself in a tight spot, you'll be glad you packed one of these. Sometimes it's the unexpected trinkets that really turn the tide. The trinkets in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Alarm, Dandy Plush, Lucky Coin, Pink Bow, Savory Charm, Sweet Charm, and Vanity Mirror. Alright, let's dive into the world of trinkets in Dandy's world. Now, we're not talking about the shiny things you just pick up because they look cool. No, we're talking about the trinkets that have specific uses but are a little bit more niche. They're like that one tool in your toolbox. Kinda useful, but not the first one you reach for. And hey, don't get me wrong, they can totally save the day in the right situation, but you'll probably end up swapping them out once you level up a bit. Let's break down some of the B-tier trinkets that are good, but might not always be your go-to. First up, we've got the Alarm. Now this little trinket gets your heart racing. When panic mode kicks in, you get a nice 25% movement speed boost for 10 seconds. It's a lifesaver when you're in a pinch and need to zip around faster. But let's be real, panic mode doesn't always hit when you need it to. It's handy, but not a permanent fix to your speed issues. If you're in a mad rush and just need a quick escape though, Alarm's got your back. Next, we've got the Dandy Plush. Okay, this one's a bit of a gem, especially if you're looking to shop till you drop. It gives you a 50% discount on all items in Dandy's shop. Seriously, half off? Who wouldn't want that? But it's a bit of a mixed bag. While it's great for stacking up on items without breaking the bank, it doesn't exactly help in combat. Still, if you're the type to spend more time in Dandy's shop than on the battlefield, this trinket could make your shopping sprees way more affordable. Now let's talk about the Lucky Coin. This one's all about random boosts. It gives a random stat boost of 12% every time you move to a new floor. Sounds cool, right? It can totally turn the tide if you get a stat boost that's just what you needed. But here's the catch. It's random. So you might end up with a boost in something you don't even care about. It's like buying a lottery ticket, but hey, sometimes luck is on your side, and you get a stat boost that's worth your while. Moving on to the Pink Bow, it's simple but effective. This trinket gives you a 7.5% boost to your run speed. It's not a game changer, but it's a nice little nudge if you're trying to move a little faster around the map. Maybe you don't need a huge boost, but every little bit counts when you're dodging attacks or rushing to get to that next checkpoint. It's like the perfect little upgrade that just makes everything feel a tad smoother. Let's not forget about the Savory Charm. This one's got some serious clutch potential. It'll save your skin from a fatal blow, granting you 10 seconds of invincibility after a near-death experience. The catch? It only works once and doesn't protect you from lethal attacks. Yeah, those are the real killers. Still, if you find yourself in a tight spot and just need that extra moment to recover, this charm could be the difference between a comeback or a game over. Lastly, we have the Vanity Mirror. It's got a bit of a fancy name, but what it actually does is pretty practical. It boosts your run speed by a whopping 30% during panic mode. It's a major speed boost when you're already in a frenzy, and it could be just the thing you need to get away from danger. The downside? Well, like some of the others, it's situational. If panic mode isn't triggered, you're not getting that sweet speed boost. But when it's active, you're moving like lightning, and that can really change the flow of the game. So there you have it, some B-tier trinkets that may not always be top-tier picks, but they can definitely make things interesting when used correctly. They won't always be your best friend, but if you find the right moment, they can totally shine. The trinkets in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Clown Horn, Ghost Snakes in a Can, Participation Award, Ribbon Spool, and Speedy Shoes. Alright, let's dive into the real MVPs of Dandy's world. The A-tier trinkets. You know, those items that don't just sit there looking pretty but actually make a noticeable difference on the battlefield. These are the ones you want to grab almost every time, unless you're feeling extra bold and have an S-tier trinket in your pocket. First up, we've got Clown Horn. Now, if you're into running around like a speed demon, this one's for you. On odd-numbered floors, it boosts your walk and run speed by a sweet 10%. That's right, 10%. This trinket is all about giving you that extra edge when you need to dash for cover or chase down an opponent. It's fast, fun, and makes you feel like a pro. Then, there's Ghost Snakes in a Can. Sounds a little mysterious, right? That's because it is. This trinket reduces your active ability cooldown by 5 seconds. Imagine being able to use your abilities faster, getting those clutch moments more often. It's like you're one step ahead of everyone else. Definitely one of those sneaky good trinkets that can change the tide of a match when used at the right time. Next up, we've got Participation Award. I know, the name's a bit cheeky, but don't let that fool you. This trinket is all about increasing your skill check chance by 25%, which is a solid boost. Sure, it does reduce the skill check size by 10%, but that's a fair trade for a higher chance of nailing those checks and getting that sweet reward. And of course, we can't forget about Ribbon Spool. This one's similar to the Clown Horn, but for even-numbered floors. It gives you a nice 10% boost to your walk and run speed, so you're still zipping around like you're on a sugar rush. Plus, if you're playing smart and keeping track of floor numbers, you can use this to your advantage and keep your speed up when it counts. Lastly, Speedy Shoes. Nothing fancy, just pure unadulterated speed. With a 5% increase to your movement speed, this trinket is perfect for those who just need a little extra push to get out of sticky situations or outrun their opponents. It's simple, reliable, and always useful. So, there you have it. A tier trinkets that are absolutely worth your time. They're not just for show, they're practical, they've got solid synergies, and they can give you that little boost to tip the scales in your favor. Grab one, pop it in, and start feeling like a champion in Dandy's world. The trinkets in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Dog Plush, Magnifying Glass, and V's Remote. Let's dive into some of the absolute game changers in Dandy's world, the S-Tier Trinkets. These three aren't just good, they're the kind of items you hope to get your hands on every time you play. They're so strong, they practically guarantee an advantage, and if you can manage to snag them, you're in for a smooth ride. First up is the Dog Plush. Simple yet effective, it boosts your walk speed by 10%. That might not sound like much at first, but trust me, that little boost adds up. It's perfect for staying ahead of the competition, dodging obstacles, and making sure you're the first one to the finish line. If speed is your game, this one's for you. Next, we've got the Magnifying Glass. This one is a bit of a double-edged sword, but in the best way possible. It gives you more completion when you nail a skill check, but it also shrinks the size of the skill check by about 33%. What does that mean? It's a tiny bit trickier to hit your mark, but when you do, you'll get a nice juicy completion boost, around a 200 in skill check value. Plus, landing on that white area, extra bonus completion. It's all about those perfect moments. And last but certainly not least, we have V's Remote. If you're a fan of playing it smart and efficient, this one is a must-have. V's Remote instantly completes the first machine you extract from on any floor. But here's the catch. It only activates if you've completed less than 50% of the machines. A bit of strategy goes into when to use it, but once you've got it, it's a real game changer for getting ahead of the curve. Just be sure to use it wisely since it only works once per floor. So there you have it, the S-Tier Trinkets that'll give you an edge in Dandy's world. Whether you're looking for speed, precision, or pure efficiency, these trinkets have got your back. Keep your eyes peeled for them and enjoy the boost they give to your gameplay. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.